Hi everyone, Mr. Brish here. I don't know if you've noticed that on the counseling page we've had a poll going on the last couple of days, and what it's got is a whole bunch of genres of books. Starting in quarter two, we're going to be doing some reading, and we wanted it to be something fun and something that interested you. So I put up a whole bunch of different kinds of genres here that you could pick from. There's sci-fi, there's sports, there's some nonfiction choices, so whatever you are interested in, hopefully will be represented there. The reason why we wanted you to click some things there is so that we would know what you might be interested in so that we could pitch some books to you. So that's what I'm going to do today. Is I've got a couple of books that are some of my favorites, and so that's what I wanted to do, was to kind of talk about a couple of books that you might be interested in. If you're interested in reading any of these books, come talk to me, and then I'd be happy to read books with you. I love book groups, and we could read a little bit. We could talk about it once a week, see how it is, see if you're liking it, see what the characters are like, talk about any aspect of the book that might be interesting. So, without further ado, here's the first one. The first one is called Neuromancer. Here's my copy of it. I actually named my son after the author of this book because he's my favorite author. His name's William Gibson, so I named my son Gibson after him. And this book was actually written in 1984, and it created kind of some worlds that you might be familiar with. So, like The Matrix borrows from it, and the Ghost in the Shell, and so if you're interested in any of those types of science fiction kinds of movies and that sort of stuff. It created a whole genre called cyberpunk, and he was the first person to ever use the word cyberspace. And so, he kind of created this whole world of hackers, and it was super interesting. So here's a picture of some concept art for the movie that they've been thinking about making for a whole lot of years now. The plot is basically this. There's a data thief named Case. He's, kind of a, maybe a stereotypical hacker, right? And he's just done a job where the kind of mob boss that he's just done the job for has basically destroyed his entire central nervous system. So he's pretty much close to death when you first meet him. But eventually comes along this job that he can't refuse, and he meets this kind of protector person named Molly. She's sort of cybernetically enhanced, and so she's pretty much a badass. What she does is kind of protect him for the entirety of this particular job that he's on. And I don't want to tell you too much about the job because it's a cool kind of mystery that unravels throughout the course of the book. There's defrosting ninjas and artificial intelligence and gritty, take a look at the picture here, some gritty, sort of near future kind of science fiction. So it is super cool, and, of course I love it because, I named my son after it. The next book that I want to talk about is Ender's Game, one of my favorite books. You can see how it's won all these awards at the top of the book. I mean, it's not like Neuromancer is, hasn't won a bunch of awards. This won just as many awards as Ender's Game. Although this copy doesn't have, all the stuff at the top like Hugo Award-winning and Nebula Award-winning. But both of these won a ton of awards when they first came out. I don't know if you've seen the movie for Ender's Game or not, but basically it's about a kid who's kind of gifted in terms of intelligence and that sort of thing. He's got just the right amount of violence and just the right amount of sort of compassion and caring and intelligence. Here's an example of what his school looks like. What they have done is, since Earth has been attacked by this mysterious kind of alien race, what happens next is they decide to take an entire generation of kids and basically train them from the time they're 7 or so until they're in their teens in the best methods of battle and how to destroy this new threat. They kind of have attacked and then withdrawn, and they don't know what's going on, so they're going to train all these kids in order to fight the next generation of this battle that they're going to have. So here's a picture of Ender at the battle school. So, it's about kind of teenagers and growing up and how a adults kind of use kids to, for their own reasons. And so it's a fantastic book, and I would highly recommend it. Up next is a book called 1984, and this is my special copy that my wife bought me for birthday a couple of years ago. And it's really cool because it's got illustration, it's got like some cool art all over it, and so that sort of thing. But the book 1984 is about a government that has taken over and tries to control every aspect of your life. You can see the cameras here in this picture on the screen. This is the symbol of that government, Big Brother, and they have these posters all over the place saying that Big Brother is always watching you. So they have neighbors turning in neighbors for thinking thoughts that are not up to what the ruling party thinks that they should be. They call themselves the party, the group that rules over everything. And so if you have a thought that's not what the party wants, then your neighbor might say, hey, you know what, he thought about maybe rebelling against the party. So the main character in the story, his name is Winston, and he decides that he's going to rebel against Big Brother. This is what Winston is rebelling against. These are the three slogans of the party. War is peace, ignorance is strength, and freedom is slavery. And so in order to understand this, you have to read the book. It's it's about rebellion, and it's about resistance against oppressive governments and oppressive forces that are trying to ruin people's lives. So if you're into those sorts of themes, fantastic book. It's not even very long either, so nice and short, but super interesting. The last book I want to talk about is called The Handmaid's Tale. I don't have a physical copy with me because it's on my Kindle, but here's the copy of the cover. The cover looks like. The Handmaid's Tale takes place in a future where a sort of religious organization has taken over America, and women now are basically parts of just a couple of sections of society. There are the handmaids. They're in charge of reproduction because most of the women in the near future are infertile because of all the toxins and poisons in the world, right? Then there are women who sort of take care of the house. They're called Marthas. They cook and they clean and that sort of thing. Then there are women that are wives, and there are women who sort of control the handmaids. So, women's lives in this particular society are completely controlled by the men in their lives. Handmaids have to dress a certain way. Marthas have to dress a certain way. Wives have to dress a certain way. So so everybody knows exactly what their role is in society. The handmaid's job is to get pregnant and have babies. That's what their job is. So the story is told from the perspective of one of the handmaids. This is what they have to wear when they go outside. Every day, this particular handmaid walks past, there's a guard right here, walks past a sort of place where they hang traitors to the government or people that are trying to help the handmaids or anybody who really speaks out against the government. Kind of like the last book, 1984, this is a very similar kind of government where it's really controlling of everybody's lives. And I don't know if you've seen the show on Hulu, but like most of the images I've gotten have been from the show. So the cool part of the show is that the first season is basically the book, The Handmaid's Tale, and then the next seasons are going to be something that's beyond the books. So it'd be really cool to read the book, then watch the show, and then see where it's going to go after that. So those are the couple of books that I am really interested in reading with whoever wants to. So if you are a person who's interested in reading one of these books, let me know. If there's a couple of friends that you want to read it with, we can all read together in a group of, 3 or 4 or 5, I'll be happy to read with just you too. So let me know if you are interested in any of these books, and then we will, kind of go from there. Thanks, guys.